And somebody that had a stake in some of this stuff was Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, and he was on Sean Hannity talking about the knuckleheads running SVB, the knuckleheads running these institutions don't know what they're doing, and that's why we've been led to the scenario of which we are at, and now they're asking for a bailout. And sure, there's a certain portion that's able to be funded by the FDIC insurance, but not everything. So at the tail end of all this, it's going to come out of our pockets once again to bail these people out. I'm sorry, we don't need to be bailing them out. And he agrees with me. Let's go ahead and roll it.
This should make you furious as we speak. The Biden administration is now essentially printing money to bail out woke millionaires, billionaires that support their party. And you will pay every single penny of this. And by the way, for everything sent through inflation, speaking of which, inflation contributes to this, climb up 6% since last year. Anyway, here with reaction from the hit show Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary. Mr. O'Leary, sir, how are you?
Very good. Thank you.
Did I get this right that you had money in SVB, a lot of money?
I had many of the companies that we invested in our private equity portfolio from Circle on down. Circle had about $3 billion, and it was the largest depositor, and others. And, when you're in my situation, you don't care that much about politics. You care about policy. And so you make your decisions every day. My job is to get up in the morning and put millions of dollars to work. I really care about policy. And what I see here, regardless of where you stand in politics, is a pretty bad policy, because what we did, in my view, and it's a personal opinion, over the weekend is to nationalize the American banking system. We basically told everybody around the world, regardless of who you are and what bank you're in, no matter how much you have, we guarantee it.
I 100% agree with him here that you basically eliminated not just the aspect of competition, but the most important part here, risk. You basically just open the floodgates for somebody to invest into something that would traditionally be really stupid and extremely high risk. And you eliminate it because now you're saying, well, anytime something bad happens, the government's just going to bail me out. And when we say the government's going to bail you out, it's you or I. It's the taxpayer that's going to feel the brunt of it. So you just incentivized people to make stupid behavior, which we see time and time again from our government, because a lot of these Democrats and progressive leftists want the government to be baby daddy. Whenever you get in a stick or in a tough situation, they're going to be there to bail you out, whether it's your student loans, which will roll into some sort of thing of paying off your mortgage or paying off your auto loans. I'm sure at some point it's going to roll down into that. Or heck, now we're dealing with, now we're just going to bail out all the banks consistently. Whatever it may be, it's always us feeling the brunt end of it. We're not the ones that made the stupid investing decisions that they made. It was the bank's fault, and they deserve to go under. That's what happens in a free market. That's what happens in capitalism. Because of your actions, you're going to feel the consequences of it. But we no longer do that in a society nowadays because nobody has personal responsibility. From the Democrat Party to Joe Biden's mouth, zero personal responsibility.
You don't care who you are or why it's there, but no matter what happens, it's guaranteed. So just think about it. I'd like to keep this very simple. I'm a bank manager in a bank today after this new policy decision, and I get compensated on the value of my bank's stock. You just told me I could take all the depositors' money, go to Las Vegas, put it on red. Maybe I double it, maybe I lose it all, but it doesn't matter to me because you, the taxpayer, and the government guarantee all my depositors. As long as I play by the rules that we have now and the football rules of banking, I get to go crazy. And I think this is a very bad mistake.
I 100% agree. The man just reiterated everything I just said. This is a massive mistake. And again, sometimes when you open this door, you can't close it again. We already had that door slightly open in 2008. Where the banks were making very bad lending decisions. And in the same way here, they're making bad investment decisions. Granted, there was other variables and components that went into it. But one of the main was the rise of inflation because the government decided to pump the economy full of trillions of dollars. So you had an increase in inflation, which the Federal Reserve should have been increasing interest rates back in 2020 under Trump. That was Trump's fault partially for saying, well, we don't need to do it. Yes, you did. You had to start doing it then. And they didn't. So now we kick the can down the road. Now we're dealing with this whole mess. The current inflation rate's 6% now, which affects the bond rate. And so when the bond rate isn't where it should be, because it got progressed forward because the interest rates increased. Nobody's going to buy those bonds that were previously held at 4% because now you get 6 or 8% for those bonds. So you got to offer at a discount rate for people to go back to those bonds. So you got a cluster bleep, all because people don't know how to run stuff because people are idiots. From the federal government all the way to these banks, they're all idiots.
Called it a victory for idiot bank managers. I'm not trying to get into your own personal finances.
I'm telling you, folks, when I ever do these videos, I don't watch it all the way through. I only watch like maybe 20 seconds of it, and if it grabs my attention, then I want it to be a real-time reaction for you. Sean Hannity just took the words right out of my mouth, did he not? They're a bunch of idiots.
The reason I was asking that question is that we all know the FDIC insures up to $250,000. I'm assuming that you had a lot more money in there than $250,000. So you will be the beneficiary
Yes.
of this bailout, like every other depositor at SVB. However, the difference between you and probably everybody else is you're saying this bank should not be bailed out. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're not. This bank was run by idiots with an incompetent board. It's one bank. No one ever heard the name before. Now it's internationally famous.
Why the hell did you keep your money? Kevin, you're a smart guy. Why did you keep your money there if it was run by idiots?
This is, Sean, it's a freaking great question. Granted, if I had to guess, you don't necessarily know that it's being ran by idiots until they do something idiotic that leads to something like this. I mean, how many times have we thought we've known somebody, whether you know them for 20 years or 25 years, and it turns out that they're not exactly who they portrayed to be. So that's very well what could have taken place here. He had his money there. It was low risk bonds they were putting themselves into or investing themselves into with these treasury bonds, these different stock options they were doing. You didn't expect everybody to run at the bank. Granted, there seems to be a lot of risk because they were focusing in one sector or predominantly one sector, meaning the technology sector in Silicon Valley. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons as to why he left his money there and was making certain investments. I'd be curious to see what he has to say here, but hell, you never knew that this was going to happen. And there is a certain level of risk for you even investing into banks in the first place. So just because, yeah, your money's insured up to $250,000 for business owners that have either millions of dollars or billions of dollars put into these banks, even you having your money held at a bank has a certain level of risk to it. Just because you have your money in a bank doesn't mean it dissolves risk altogether. There is risk actually there. And I hope that he brings it up because a lot of times we go, well, my money was at the bank. It should be perfectly fine. No, it's not. In the same way, even if you were to keep your money at home, there's a certain level of risk of your house burning down, flooding, you getting robbed and losing your money. It's the same thing at the bank, just on a different level.
No, it's one of many, many banks I keep my money in. And look, I'm a big boy, and my whole point is if you have more than $250,000 in any institution, you're basically a hedge fund or a savvy investor or a business. You understand your risks and you act accordingly. So I think the Fed's mandate about keeping FDIC insurance at $250 makes sense to me. But we changed all that over the weekend. We said, doesn't matter how much you have. And I understand we want to keep confidence in the banking system. What I would have preferred is to allow this bank run by idiots, and I'm sorry to say these harsh words, but it's a fact. This is Silicon Valley Bank is the poster boy for idiot management now. That brand is radioactive waste. And so at the end of the day, let this thing go under, because that's our democratic, capitalist system, because when you're an idiot and it goes to zero, that's okay. Most of the people that had money, including me, above $250,000 in my portfolio companies, we can take the hit. I get it. That happens sometimes. But I'll tell you what I've done since then. I've told all my CEOs and all of our portfolios, we don't want any more than 20% in any one institution. So we diversified across many institutions. And frankly, what I see now, as an investor in bank stocks, I won't invest anymore, because you're basically telling me that from now on, the regulatory environment on small regional banks is going to be so punitive, I don't think they can make money anymore. Remember this is the really key issue for everybody in America to think about. There are 11 sectors in our economy. We are the greatest economy on earth. One of them is financial services. It's the only sector that services all other 10. We have to make a decision. Right. Do we want to turn this into a utility to service the other 10, or do we want it to be private? If it's private, you have to let the idiots go to zero. And we didn't do that this weekend.
100% agree. Don't have any qualms with anything that took place there. Granted, he didn't really answer the component of, well, if it's ran by idiots, then why did you keep your money there? But as he said, you're going to diversify your portfolio. And if you have a lot of money, you're going to diversify the banks of which you're holding on to your money and investing that money or lending it out to people so they could buy homes or start a business, whatever it may be. We all know how banks are ran, but you're diversifying that risk over different areas and, again, different sectors.
I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.